Welcome back, Algebra 2 class. I'll try to make this video a little bit shorter. That last one went a little longer than expected. So what we're going to do in this video is find the inverse of a couple different functions. Now, if you recall from the first video, the inverse of a function, is just a function that brings you from the output back to the input. So another way to think about that is that the inverse function undoes the original function. So we have to ask ourselves here, what undoes the original function? So in our original f of x, we can see that the function just divides x by 3. So if we want to undo that to find our inverse function, instead of dividing by 3, we would have to multiply by 3. So our inverse function here is going to be f inverse of x equals 3 times x. Now, one way to test if this actually worked is we can plug something into the original function, get an answer, and then plug it into our inverse and see if we get back to where we started. So let's try that with one simple example. Let's find f of 6. So f of 6 is just 6 divided by 3, which is going to give us 2. Now, if we try to go back the other direction, that means that plugging 2 into our inverse should get us back to 6. So let's try that out. If we do f inverse of 2, well, that's going to be 3 times 2, and that does indeed get us back to where we started. So this inverse function seems to work. Now, inverse functions can get a little more complicated, but there is a neat trick that actually helps you find your inverse for any function. So one way to do it is to switch the x and the y and then solve for y. So remember, the inverse function is just the original function with x and y swapped. That's exactly what we filled in that table of values from before. So if our original function is y equals 5x minus 1, then to find the inverse, we're just going to switch x and y. So we're going to have x equals 5y minus 1. And we're going to go ahead and solve this for y. So the first thing I have to do is add y to both sides. So we'll have x plus 1 equals 5y. And then we're going to divide both sides by 5. So we'll have x plus 1 divided by 5 equals y. So our inverse function is x plus 1 divided by 5. Now, some of you may have wanted to just go ahead and try to figure out the same way we did last time, what undoes the original function. And when functions are simple like this, you probably can, but it's going to be a good habit to get into to know how to do this process here.